Welcome. Here we are. It's Wednesday night. It's 9 o'clock. And boy, do we have a special show for you tonight. I am very excited for this show. You guys know I do several shows a week. I don't get butterflies in the stomach. I don't get nervous. I'm like excited, nervous about the show tonight. As you know, Frankie from Flatbush will be here with me in a minute. And this is like one of those like bucket list guests who, I've watched for years with Green Bean and always valued his takes and opinions. And I'm absolutely ecstatic to have him on the show here tonight. And we're going to get in some good discussion, hopefully open your eyes and minds to some things going on in Jets world. And we will be back. I don't have a Wednesday intro yet. So you know what? Blitz BK made this. I'm going to rock it again tonight. We'll be back right after this. Good evening. Welcome to Thursday Night Throwdown. I'm your host, Nick.
When the blitz comes, there's no one to block him.
It's 10 o'clock, get ready for the showdown. 9 toes down, Nick, ready for the throwdown. We proud Jets fans, we don't play with them pronouns. Best roster in the league, we playing with the pros now. They tell us slow down, call us delusional, call us losers as usual. But this season will be beautiful. Shotgun with you know who, but run it instead. Lad Hall hit the hole hard.
That's what she said.
Ground and pound like it's 2010. The chat, we got many friends. Johnny wearing hats for super chat and watch him breathe again. Nick put the link so Bobby can call and speak again. Bonesy did the blind, got the weed and pens. We speaking green again. Jets news like it's CNN. A-Rod and Charles Gorman is like we seeing twins. Feeding tins, pounding on these bleeding fins. Week 14 and 18 when they needing wins. They ain't seeing them. We run the ball and play defense. This is AFC hell where other teams repent. Ladies and gents, welcome to MetLife. This is Jet Life. We bleed green, this our best life. We just nice.
Let's say what's up to everyone. Awesome. Blitz. Again, he made that, sent it to me. Producer JR put the video together. I'm excited. We're going to do a speed round here. Let's say what's up to Mark. Stack is here, nice and early. Tom Ace in the house. Richard Todd, 14. Hopefully, me and Frankie do a better performance than Richard Todd in the AFC Championship game. We will do our best for you, sir. Nate is here. Roger F is in the house. Hank G coming in from Canada. What's up, brother? Mr. Bonesy, hello to you, sir. Sluggo. I have no idea what you're saying, but welcome to the show, sir. Mess is in the house. Clancy's here, never doubted. Rob V. We got Addison, fresh off the weed pen. Hawk is here, my good friend Hawk. B. Trav, what's up? Welcome. Welcome to the show, sir. We got Ryder and Talon's Pa in the house. We got John B. And now, Mark Reese. What's up, my buddy Mark? Welcome. So this is like a bucket list thing for me. This is a really, really cool moment for me as a content creator, someone who talks Jets, to bring on this next guest. This is his first time together being on the show with me, and I am very, very happy to welcome Frankie from Flatbush. What's up, sir?
Hey, Nick. Hey, everybody in the chat. Hope you can hear me okay. Nick, I think we can feel it coming in the air of the night. You know that Phil Collins song?
Love it.
Yeah, one of the greatest drum drops of all time. I think we can feel the season coming in the air of the night.
I just need Mike Tyson to punch out Jeremy at the end of it, like in The Hangover. If we can get Tyson to punch Jets Chaos right in the face, that's the only thing that makes that drum solo better, is the wild punch. Yeah, man, it's great to have Jets stories, right? We're not, like we were saying off air, we're not projecting anymore. We're not hoping. We actually have our guys out on the field working together every day to grind, to get better. And I keep saying it. I'm going to say it for months. The march to the Super Bowl is underway. These guys are grinding. The coaches are figuring things out. The players are figuring things out on the field together. It's exciting. When you have a team that's elite and you think that they can do everything that we think they can do, you want to absorb. Listen, we're lunatics. I say it all the time. Jets fans are lunatics. We're lunatics for the draft. We're lunatics for the fourth quarterback that we start. We're hoping that the next guy is always the answer. What if we finally have all the answers, Frankie? What if this is the team that doesn't have any more questions and gives us all the answers that we've ever waited for?
Well, we're not used to it. That's for sure. I mean, we
You
are
don't know
not
that.
used to this type of roster with this type of quarterback, and not only one quarterback, but two quarterbacks. I have this feeling, Nick, that even if A-Rod went down, God forbid, I have a feeling that Tyrod Taylor could take us to the Super Bowl. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But with this team, with how talented it is, with the defense we have, with the running game, with all that we have, I think we could go even with Tyrod. So we've never had that, not recently.
No, not at all. I mean, I hope you're right, but I hope we never find out.
Yeah.
It's fair, right?
It's very reassuring, though.
I appreciate and I
say.
accept your stance, but I hope it never comes to fruition.
Agreed, but that's what people say. Like, okay, you guys have a great team, but what if A-Rod gets hurt? He's 40 years old. He's got he's coming off an injury. Well, I say, okay, say he does. We got Tyrod, and I feel great about Tyrod in this offense. I really do.
Yeah, when you look at the AFC Championship and the final score was 17-10 last year, why can't we win that type of game? Why can't we? Yeah, our defense, our run game, our line. Why can't we win that type of game? You still have Garrett Wilson, who's great enough to keep the defense honest. You got Mike Williams you could throw the ball up to. Tyrod likes to throw the ball downfield. Mike's the guy to go get it. Why couldn't we? If all right and everyone else stays healthy and that's the only major injury, if it were to happen, I think we could still put a competitive run in.
I don't see why not. So I feel really good. We're not used to this. We're not used to guys having animated conversations on the sidelines about very small details. We're used to guys trying to figure out how to snap the ball or how to run a route properly or how to tackle somebody. Now we're talking about very tiny details that people are having animated conversations about on the sideline. So I think that's it's great, but we're not used to it. So we got to just kind of adjust our fan viewing cap when we see these things that the fans shoot the videos of the sidelines. We got to realize what's going on here. And some of these things are really good things and not go into our jet catastrophe mind. Oh, no, everything's breaking down. Oh, no, oh, no. So we just got to, realize we're at a different place right now. Knock on wood, people stay healthy and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, agree. And we're so used to drama as Jets fans, from our beat reporters, from things that have happened with our players on roster. We expect it. We almost expect the next negative story, from our quarterback getting punched in the face and getting his jaw broken to all the other stories that you can think of that happened in Jets camp, right? To see an elite wide receiver with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, both of them passionate and both of them saying what they see and trying to get in sync. I said last night, you don't want that in the middle of the second quarter with the goose egg on the board in San Francisco. You want that when it says July on the calendar, so that if they see it in September or in February, they know what to do without even communicating verbally, because they've already discussed it. They've already ironed out the details and they know how to attack.
Yeah, not to mention, when the other players see Aaron Rodgers talking that way to Garrett Wilson, what are they going to think? Like, what is Xavier Gibson thinking? What is Alan Lazard thinking? What is Jason Brownlee thinking? They better be like, I better be on my P's and Q's, because if he's talking that way to Garrett, what's he going to say when I screw up? So, I think it's a great example for the rest of the team to see, okay, these guys, these are our leaders. These are some of our best players, and they're hashing it out like this. okay, well, if I'm not on that level, they're going to come for me. I mean, this is the way it was with. This is why like Bill Belichick used to get on Tom Brady all the time, and Brady would just be like, "Yes, sir," and be like, "Wait, Bill Belichick's getting on Brady." The greatest of all time. Wait, he's treating him that way. I better get on my P's and Q's because if he can do that to Brady, he could do that to anybody. And Brady knew that that's what he was doing. He's making an example of him for the rest of the team. And I think this is sort of like that in a way. It's like, all right, well, if he's going to, talk this way to Garrett, what's he going to do to me? I'm the backup running back. I better make sure I know what I'm doing. So I think it's great all around, really.
Yeah, and to add to that, it's also great because the rest of the wide receiver room looks at Garrett Wilson now in year 3 saying, we got to listen to him. He knows what he's seeing. If he's on the page with Rodgers, we got to absorb everything we can from him because we do have a lot of young guys behind him, right? It's Mike Williams and then a bunch of young guys is our depth chart. So very quickly in year 3, Garrett Wilson is the veteran of the wide receiver room. He's been here the longest out of all of them. So it's nice to see guys go from the rookie to second year, a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, to now third year, people talking about even Rodgers saying he has everything to be the best wide receiver in football. And you got to have the mental and you got to have that leadership and you got to have that ability to go to your quarterback as great as Rodgers is and as long as he's been here. And you to have the balls to go to Rodgers and argue back shows how confident you are. And I think that's a great sign. I don't see a single negative in anything that happened with Rodgers and Wilson.
Not to mention, but it's very cool to see these young kids. They come in as kids, Sauce and Brees and Garrett and even Jermaine, although Jermaine was a little more mature than the others. And you see Garrett Wilson in particular maturing and becoming a man right before our very eyes. I mean, he's up there with the media now. He's very comfortable. He's cracking jokes with them. And you could tell from his demeanor, he's just a different guy than he was when he came in. You could see as a rookie, their heads must be spinning, and you could kind of see the difference. When he's up there now, he's cracking jokes. He's, explaining things very well. And it's just kind of really nice to see them just grow up as and become the men they're going to be. And these are the people who are going to be our long-term players who are going to be here for a long time. This is our core. The Yankees used to have the core 4. Remember that? And some people say it's the core 5 but that doesn't rhyme. The core 5 with Bernie Williams. Some people include Bernie Williams. Some people don't. Well, this is going to be our core. It's going to be Garrett and Sauce and Brees and Jermaine and AVT. We got a bunch of them. Hopefully Tipman. They're going to, and Michael Carter. And those are our core guys. And to see them maturing so well, I think is just very gratifying.
Yeah, because talent can only get you so far. Then that's where you got to become the leaders, and you have to embrace it and say, "This is our team. This is my wide receiver room." And you're seeing that. Brees, year 3, veteran of the running back room, right? Garrett, year 3, veteran, and with the Jets at least in the wide receiver room. So it shows how valuable those guys are to this team. What we're going to do, not just on the field, but off the field as well. They're becoming the faces of the team. They're becoming our core, like you mentioned with the Yankees. Let's just hope they throw up 4 or 5 rings together, right? Like the Yankees did. We sign up for that, right, Frank?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping this is like the on-ramp to our period. Do you remember the New England Patriots before Tom Brady showed up?
Yeah.
Do you remember
those years?
What's that?
Those Bledsoe years, yeah, from like the mid-'90s on.
Yeah, well, and even before that, they were not very good. They had a long period of time where they were terrible, just like us. We've been terrible for a long period of time. So these franchises, and the Bills went through their doldrums before they got Josh Allen. So franchises go through these long doldrums while they're trying to find a quarterback usually. And so now what we have to hope is this is our on-ramp to our good period. Hopefully, we get maybe 2, 3, 4 years out of Rodgers, and then maybe he hands it off to Travis or whoever, another young guy that we draft in the coming years. And then hopefully that's that quarterback plus this core of young guys that hopefully we can sign most of them, long term. and hopefully we start to turn it around. Like the Patriots had a 20-year run, and the Bills are having their run now, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, it takes, well, not most teams have 4 picks in the top 35, but we said leading up to that, right? If that class hits, it could be the turning point of the franchise for the next 10, 15 years. And so far, things look pretty good, right? I think in terms of the 4 players, I think you'd have to say it's better than we expected, right? After 2 years, Sauce All-Pro 2 years in a row. Brees with the injury, but he came back last year. He was the number 1 running back in terms of production, weeks 12 through 18. JJ, I don't really count the Pro Bowl as an accomplishment because we don't know how many people rejected the offer to go there when there's not a game, But we see JJ developing and expect a nice leap from him in year 3. Garrett with Rodgers should be one of the best wide receivers in football. I think that this class exceeds expectations from when we drafted them. We hoped they did great, but I don't think we saw this coming, right?
Yeah, I mean, they had the potential for sure. So it's nice to see it being realized. And yeah, it could go down as one of the all-time classes. I think between that and I think it was the 2017 Saints with that great class. This could be one of the great classes of all time. So, we really did luck out. And I think we did. I think one of the things that this regime really values is the character of the players. And so that's really helped us because, some people are going to struggle. Jermaine Johnson didn't do so much his rookie year. It was okay, but but he kept working at it. And it looks like Will McDonald may do the same thing. Saw it today talking about he's really gotten a lot stronger. Didn't put on any poundage, but he seems stronger, and that's exactly what he needed to do. So that's the type of guy that you need. Or like even Malachi Corley came out of rookie minicamp, and they said, this guy's good, but he's got to work on his route running. Well, Nick Faria today said, well, looks like he worked on his route running because his footwork's a lot better. Yeah, sorry.
Well,
moving ahead to one of our top.
Segue. There you go. Perfect segue. Let's talk about it. There was questions about Corley and everything coming out today. I mean, he had a catch today. I don't know if you guys have seen the footage yet. It was literally like the Santonio Holmes catch in the New England playoff game with the knee touching down in the corner on a pass from Rodgers. You don't throw that ball unless you're confident the guy's going to run the route the way you need him to run it, right? Like Rodgers not throwing a jump ball to anybody. He's precise. You need to get to your mark, and he'll get the ball there. So they looked like they fed him the ball a little bit. They did an end around. They threw the fade, the corner out to him. If he can be 50 catches, I think would be a very, very good season coming in with Brees, with Conklin, with Mike Williams, with Garrett. If he comes in 40, I'm getting a little bit of a feedback. You have any audio playing? All right, maybe let me just check the audio real quick. Echo cancellation. All right, let me try again. If you can get 40 to 50 catches from him, third down conversions, you get them running end arounds. He's a part of the play scheme. He's a part of decoys at times. Now you start feeding him the ball a little bit, and somebody who plays a bigger role as the season goes on. That's great for your 5th, 6th option, right? You get 3 catches a game. You end up with 51 catches for the season. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting to me in these, in training camp is when the beat reporters tell us something looks different. A lot of things, it's hard to know what they mean. Like the coaches use coach speak, so it's hard to know exactly what they're saying sometimes. But the beat reporters know when something looks different. That is something you can kind of rely on. And Faria was saying, well, we saw what he was running, how he was running the routes, whenever it was, rookie camp or whatever. And now these last few days, how he's been doing it. And it looks different, he said. To me, I trust that kind of reporting because it's just with his eyes, he can see it. I mean, it's, He's not putting any spin on it. He's just said he looks a lot more crisp in his route running. So I personally think that has some validity to it. And then you're seeing the production. Yeah, Rodgers throwing him the ball. So combine those two things, and because we know that Corley can do all those other things. He can do shallow crossers. He can do jet sweeps. He can do bubble screens and wide receiver screens all day. He did that in college. He can do that in the pros. But if you combine that with route running, now you have a complete wide receiver, and you have someone who could really do something. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. And the biggest thing complements one another. Everybody brings something to the table that the other guy doesn't. Mike Williams can't do what Garrett does. Corley can't do what Mike does. Nobody can do what Brees does. Everybody has their role. And if you're a defensive coordinator and you're looking at this offense, you're going to have a lot of sleepless nights during the week. You're going to be really stressed out on how, and you have one of the greatest distributors of the football all time facilitating all this. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch them. Everybody shits on Hackett, but when you look at the film from last year, there was a lot of guys running wide open. The ball just didn't get there. Having a good quarterback makes a big difference. It extends drives. You score touchdowns. Things look a lot better when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time running your system and not the schlubs that we threw out last year, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing people need to understand about modern day football is 2012 to now. So we're not talking about back in the day with Freeman McNeil and Mark Gastineau and, the steel curtain, the iron curtain and all this thing. In modern day football, the thing that wins you football games is passing efficiency. And the two things you need the most to have high quality passing game efficiency is the quarterback and the offensive line. We have not had those things for a long time, and we have stunk for a long time. Those things go together. You have to have a really good offensive line, and you have to have a really good quarterback, and you can kind of take it from there. Because passing game efficiency in the modern day NFL is the number one correlated thing with winning football games. So you got to have it. And you got to have other things too, but that's the number one. And we haven't had those things, and now we do. I mean, we got depth on the O-line. You could talk about, well, we're a little worried about, depth on the interior. Maybe we need a McGovern or, somebody like that. But other than that, the O-line's been solidified and the quarterback position's been solidified. And then with everything else we have, we should be good to go.
I'm going to throw a question at you, and I'm going to refresh this real quick because people are telling me my internet's a little off. So I'm going to throw this to you. How do you see Corley this season? What's your projections for Corley? What do you consider his role to be? Where do you see him falling in line? Cover that, and I'll be back in a minute.
I do think you have to kind of temper expectations a bit for Malachi Corley. He is a rookie, but like we said, he's making good progress. So it's good. We don't want him to have to be like we wouldn't want him to have to be like a Marvin Harrison Jr. in Arizona, where he's gonna have to carry the load, or something like that, because that's a lot of pressure on a rookie. So I think he's in a really good spot. We got Garrett. He's our clear number one. He's a do everything. He's going to be all over the place. He's going to be our number one in targets for sure. Then we got Mike Williams, who's pretty much our number two. He's our big threat down the field. And by the way, somebody was asking him when he's going to take the field. All of the sports doctors are saying there's no concern with him hitting the field for week one. So all of the internet doctors are saying that he should be fine for week one. So that's him. Then you have guys like Xavier Gibson and Jason Brownlee who can play roles. And then you have Corley. So Corley's probably going to be a guy who gets a bunch of screens. Like if I were Hackett, I would design a bunch of screens for him in a game, 2 or 3 or 4. It's not going to be a ton. I would let him do some shallow crossers, those things he's excellent at. Give him a few of those for sure. Why? Because that's what he excels at. Why not? Let's use him that way.
Yeah.
And then if he can
get him
do
a
more
package
than that,
where you got like Ruckert and Conklin out on do trips with Ruckert, Conklin, and then Corley, hit them with a quick pass and let them go ahead and steam right ahead blocking. Get creative. You have the talent to get creative with the scheme. Now, granted, longer drives, third down conversions, we can get deeper into the playbook. We could see more than what we saw last year, right? When everything is 3rd and 12, you really can't get creative, right? You're trying to not put the defense in a bad spot. You're trying to get back a little bit and then punt the ball away. We're going to see a totally different scheme this year. Everybody who shit on Hackett is still going to shit on him because once they commit to their take, they're not changing it, right? They're going to say, oh, it's just Rodgers. But a good scheme runs better when you got somebody good running the scheme. So we're going to see so many more plays and so many more alignments and so many more things that we haven't seen before.
Here's something, Nick, that people don't understand. The defense determines what you do. The defense that you're facing determines what you do, especially when you have Rodgers and Tyrod as your quarterback, the smart guys, high football IQ. They're going to come to the line, look at what the defense is giving, and if Hackett has a run play called and they have 10 guys in the box, we're not running a run play. Sorry, we're not. Rodgers is going to change it to a pass play. So the defense really determines what you run. And so it's going to be interesting to see what poison the defense picks. You're going to put a lot of people in the box to stop Brees. Okay, then A-Rod's going to tear you apart. You're going to give us a light box and try to stop A-Rod and double team all of our receivers. Okay, then A-Rod's going to hand the ball to Brees and goodbye. So, it's going to depend on what the defense is really trying to do. And that's really, to me, the interesting part. Because then if you play it even, okay, then you're not cheating. Brees had 1,000 yards on the ground last year, just about, with heavy boxes all day long. How's it going to look when there's an even box or a light box? So,
yeah, how are you going to look when you have a credible quarterback doing play action, right, to open things up for you?
Yeah, that's the idea. Is you need threat balance. You don't really need balance. You don't need to run the same amount of plays for each, but you need threat balance where the defense does not know, has no idea what you're doing, and so they can't cheat.
Yeah, and we're going to see the best offense we've ever seen our team have. I'm firm in that. We're going to have the best offense and probably the best defense. I think this team is that good. Like, I think the offense could be the most efficient. Like, we might be a little more ball control than people expect. Aaron Rodgers is okay handing the ball up 35, 40 times a game if that's what it takes to win the game. If the offensive line is cooking, Rodgers is okay handing it off repetitively. He's not we got to throw.
If we get up early and the defense is doing their thing, then let's salt away the clock. Who cares? That's how you win. Let Brees eat. Let Brees eat and let Braylon Allen beat up these defenses. How about being a defense and you're doing all of that, and then in the third and fourth quarter we bring in Braylon Allen and you got to try to tackle that load. I mean, come on. Like, that guy is a monster. And that's our second guy that you're going to have to bring in after trying to tackle Brees and cover these receivers and all that. You're a little bit tired, and we're going to bring in Braylon Allen, basically a Brinks truck with speed. I mean, come on.
I love it. Again, though, another type of player who brings something to the table that nobody else does.
Yeah, that dude, he looks big among big men. Like, football is played with very large men, and he comes out on the field and looks large compared to them. That's something.
You hope it all comes together, because you look at the offense and where we were. And I'm one of those people that I'm annoying with it. I'm sure there's people in the chat who can't stand it, but I find a positive in everything. And the positive with Aaron Rodgers getting injured is that the rest of our offense, the flaws were exposed last year, right? Like, if Aaron Rodgers is there, a couple of people have said it in the chat already, we probably make the playoffs still. We score enough against New England in game 1. We score enough against Atlanta. Another game we lost barely. We win 10, 11 games. Maybe we make the playoffs. And now the front office says, well, maybe we just got to get healthy. We're good enough. Maybe we just needed those guys healthy. I love that last year there was so many things exposed on this offense where now they went out and they got Tyron, they got Moses, they got Simpson, they got Mike Williams, they drafted Corley, they doubled down with the running backs. They said, no, we do not have enough to go win a title. And now they do.
Yeah, it's kind of a miracle. I mean, there were some mistakes made last year. Something that people don't talk about. I don't understand how and maybe this is why Coach Embry got fired. I don't understand how we designated little Michael Carter as our third down, passing down, blocking back. Little Michael Carter. That was his role. Come in and third down and do blitz pickup. How did they come up with that? That's not smart. But they fired Embry and they got two big guys now, Allen and Davis, both pretty big for a running back. Two, if they do nothing else, they're going to do that. So, and then they've been happy with their blitz pickup so far in camp, which is really encouraging too. For young guys, sometimes they struggle with that. So even little things like that, I think, are getting fixed. So that's another encouraging thing.
I'm trying to fix my audio. Chat, any difference right now? I'm playing with some of the settings. I'm sorry, Frankie.
Sluggo is saying, yeah, Brees is a 3-down back. That was an interesting comment by Rogers, right? Where he wasn't a 3-down back before. And I don't think any of us really realized that. But he was saying the scouting report said you got to take him out. So between Brees, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons why Michael Carter needed to come in on third down and do the blocking. But now Brees is going to be a 3-down back. But even if they don't want him to be, Sluggo, even if they want to give him a breather and, or they want to take him out because they know it's just going to be blocking on that, then they have two guys who can also block. They don't have to go to a Michael Carter who's 5'7" and try to block somebody coming in who's a monster.
And last year,
it says Frankie has the echo. This is telling me some people are saying I have an echo. I think I do have a problem with this computer somehow. I'm going to try to work on this. Audio. I'm going to go to my.
I turned off your echo cancellation just now.
Oh, well, I just checked. Checking echo cancellation. Maybe automatically adjust mic volume, maybe. Checking, testing.
Yeah, I hear you, okay? I don't hear the echo. I did hear an echo when I was talking. I get easily distracted. I have ADHD.
Testing.
Good. All right, guys. Let us know how it is, please. One of the things that I liked last year, Brees, yes, he's an every down back. But we know how it is nowadays in the NFL. You don't have those guys who are out there, gone are the days of Emmitt Smith and guys like the Curtis Martin, who they only came out when they said, I need to come out, right? I want maybe Brees not on the field on first down. Let Braylon Allen have first down. That way Brees is fresh on third down because he's an elite passing attack. So I'm okay with Braylon Allen getting out there on first down, maybe getting a handoff, maybe getting a play action, throw it on first down. And then third down, I want Brees on the field. I don't want to see Brees jogging off the field on 3rd and 6. When he can dog a linebacker, get open, catch the ball, and like we saw in the Giant game, take it 50 yards when he catches it right dead center in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and we may want to split up the load too. I mean, we got to think long term. If things go as we want, we're going to be in the playoffs. That's also something we don't know anything about. These playoff things. There are these things that are called playoffs.
I've Googled it. I read playoffs.
Yeah, you can Google
I've Googled it. Third down conversions, red zone touchdowns. I've been Googling all these things to learn about them this year, Frank. This is new lingo for us.
And so if you're going to go to the playoffs, that's more games you got to play. That's what that means. And so we may want to, maybe keep the load a little bit down on Brees a little bit so that he can, play in the playoffs very well. So that's also something we could do. And, especially if we have leads. I mean, if we're up late, let Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis get their carries. Let them slam up into the line over and over again just to bleed the clock. We don't need Brees doing that. So yeah, but it's good to have the right kind of people for the right kind of roles, and I think we got that better this year. I think we did better with the roles. Corley's going to have a role. Xavier
Yeah.
Gibson's going to have a role. People have certain roles. Mike Williams is going to have a certain role, and I think we got better this year at having the right kind of players for the right kind of role.
Yeah. There's the team is more soundly put together where now it has to be brought together. And that's part of the having this many weapons and having this many guys who can contribute is a good problem to have because when guys get, their little banged up injuries and they got to miss a little time or, there's guys who can step up into bigger roles, and you have that at running back, wide receiver, tight end, and even offensive line. One of the best things that Joe Douglas has done is built a team where the last 2 seasons, our first round draft pick isn't expected to start. Frank, like we're Jets fans. What do we do as soon as we get a draft pick, Frankie? He's the savior. He's going to come in. This guy is going to change the whole course of all of our lives, and I can buy the ring, and I can stop being angry and stop drinking so much and yelling at people in public randomly because this is the player that's going to change it all for us. The last 2 first-round draft picks aren't even expected to start. That shows how good the roster is.
Really the way it should be because you don't want to put that pressure on a young guy, especially coming to the biggest media market in the world. They got to come here and expect to be the savior. I mean, that doesn't make sense. And I think Joe Douglas has finally gotten this to the place where he wanted it to be, which is like the Baltimore Ravens and how they do, and the Philadelphia Eagles and how they do. If you take a guy like Kyle Hamilton, maybe he's a little shaky at first and he needs to be on the bench a little bit. Okay, but then you work him in, and then once he's good to go, now he's a superstar. That's the way it should be, and that's fine. And I think it works best for the organization, works best for the player, and it works best for everyone. So that's where you want to be.
Yeah, this is what Joe envisioned, and this is why you give him the 5-6 year deal. This is why you don't panic and fire a guy when his first 2 years were all about cleaning up the salary cap, getting rid of the bad players before he could start the build. This is why when he went to the Johnsons in an interview process, says, this is my plan, I need 6 years. This organization needs time and its stability to get it going in the right direction. And we're there. Trading away Jamal Adams, the minute that happened, I said 2024 Super Bowl favorites. And that was when I thought we would hit on the quarterback, and that didn't happen. I never envisioned Aaron Rodgers being a New York Jet when I was saying that, a couple of years ago. But here we are. It's 2024, and we're not favorites, but I don't think anybody would be shocked. And there's haters out there, but I don't think anyone would be shocked if the New York Jets are hoisting the trophy in February. And that's a credit to the Jets staying the course, allowing the football guy to run football operations. And from all that we can tell, aside from Rodgers and Woody being heavily involved with that, but of course ownership's going to be involved when you're going to get a player of that caliber, right, and that stature. But as far as we could tell, Woody's hands off, and this is Joe's football program to run. Give me your thoughts on Joe.
I'm a big supporter of Joe Douglas. I think he's done an amazing job. There's only a couple of legitimate criticisms. One, he missed on Zach, of course. But first round quarterbacks don't work out. Look at that whole class. It hasn't really worked out for anybody except for Trevor Lawrence. And he's even a question mark, even though they gave him the money. So quarterbacks are, a roll of the dice. We took a roll of the dice there. If we could do it over, I'm pretty sure we would have traded that pick back and gotten a haul, which we could have gotten. And we would have stuck with Sam. And then if he didn't work out, we just would have went and got Rodgers or Carr or whoever was available as a free agent. But so they took a shot with Zach. So you could quibble about that. I mean, that's a big thing. It was a second pick overall. So you could say fire Joe Douglas because of Zach Wilson. But I don't think so. I like to look at the bigger picture. I think he's done an excellent job. I think he's done what we wanted him to do. If you remember when I was on with Green Bean, we always used to talk about the pipelines. I think people got a little tired of us talking about the pipelines, but we said what we want Joe to do is build a pipeline, player pipeline, coach pipeline, scouting pipeline. We
Yeah.
want all the pipelines built because we want our model to be the Ravens. The Ravens lost C.J. Mosley. They lost Matthew Judon. They lost Patrick Queen. These are great players. Are they suffering any? They lost Morgan Moses and John Simpson. They're going to be just fine. Why? Because they built the pipelines. I am
They
getting a
have a
little bit of an
plan.
echo.
They stick to it. They execute it year after year. Like you said, players come and go, but they have stability. The Patriots had that for years. They're fine letting people go. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, the 49ers now, the Seahawks for a while. When you have front office stability, the vision stays the same. You don't have to change over the scheme, right? How many times have the Jets changed coaches after 3 years, changed the scheme? I was just on with Adam, Wat2K earlier. We talked about Jonathan Vilma. We changed the scheme. You got to change the parts of it. You know, people are going nuts this year talking about Izzy being a bust. Izzy might not be a bust. It just doesn't fit the new vision for the offensive line and the run game. So imagine changing the scheme every 3 years. You're changing all those parts. It takes 3 years to build your depth, to build your pipeline in your scheme. So I love that we've stayed with them. I believe in Joe Douglas. You look at the 49ers. They traded up to get Trey Lance. He didn't work out. We stayed there and we took Zach. You know, it's going to be fun when we play them on opening day and in the Super Bowl, and we can laugh about both quarterbacks were failed. For top 3 picks were failures, and these teams still made the Super Bowl because that's how good their GMs have been with building the rest of the roster out.
And, you know, it was the only thing I would say about Douglas and Zach Wilson. It was a risky, you make that pick if you're 100% certain. And that was the COVID year. And Zach was not Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if we picked Trevor Lawrence and he didn't work out, you'd say, okay, this guy was a generational talent. From the time he was coming out of high school, everybody knew this guy was going to be a number 1 pick. But so you could say, well, given the risk of Zach Wilson having that one great year at BYU and not playing much competition and it being the COVID year and all that, given all that risk, then you don't make that pick. You trade out, get a bunch of other people around Sam Darnold, stick with Sam Darnold. And then if he doesn't work out in a year or two, then you go get your quarterback with a team that's stacked. So that's a legitimate concern. They went for it. It didn't work out. But other than that, I really, and you could say, well, maybe he got too many Green Bay Packer guys when we got Rodgers. You know, Billy Turner shouldn't have been here. Okay. Alan Lazard maybe wasn't the greatest signing of all time. But other than that, I think he's done a really good job. And then if you want to fire Joe Douglas, who's going to replace him? Who are you going to get that's better to come here to our team in New Jersey? He has to live in New Jersey, bring his family to New Jersey, where there's other jobs called like Miami and Las Vegas and Los Angeles where you can go. These are beautiful places. Texas, somebody's going to want to come to New Jersey. So, I mean, it's not the greatest destination for a person who's a high earner, So so I think he's done a good enough job. I think we should extend Joe Douglas personally. I think we should give him a contract extension and just get that continuity going. He's done a good enough job, in my opinion.
I think Joe wins the Super Bowl and says, all right, I'm done here. I'm a legend forever. Just lets the contract expire. That's it. I won the Super Bowl, right? Why leave a legend? If you win a Super Bowl with the New York Jets as the general manager, why stay and wait for it to fall off? Why stay for a rebuild? You know what I mean? You win it, you walk off into the sunset, and you are forever a god. But hopefully we have that discussion. We have to figure that out. Hopefully that's a discussion. Does he stay or does he go?
That's true. But then again, he could also go walk into Woody's office and say, give me $20 million a year. Look what I just did.
Yeah. Yeah. I built
and
it.
Woody will write the check.
Let me rebuild it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. He could just walk in there with the blank check and write his number down. Something I always ask people, and I'm always curious of their answer. You sound like you're going to be aligned with me on this here, but if Joe Douglas were to be fired, would you want the Bills, the Dolphins, or the Patriots to scoop him up? I wouldn't.
No, but somebody would, and that tells you something, right? Adam,
Immediately.
yeah, he would immediately get a job. Immediately. Adam Gase got fired, and he couldn't get a job in the NFL or college or high school or anywhere. He couldn't
Yeah.
get a job in A&P supermarket. So that tells you something that guy was wrong. But if we and it's the same thing with Saleh. Saleh's on more of a hot seat in my opinion. But if we let Saleh go, he would be a defensive coordinator somewhere in two seconds. Somebody would hire that guy to be their DC in 2 seconds.
You don't think they're
So
hand in hand? You don't think they go together right now at this point? This far into the
personally, I
regime?
don't. I think Joe is safer. Me personally, I like Saleh also, but I understand the head coach is more tied to the record. So if we don't make the playoffs this year, he probably has to be fired. Maybe. I mean, unless something very weird goes on. Um, but I tell you, Saleh would get hired as a DC at least in 2 seconds. Somebody would pick him up. There's no doubt
100%.
about it.
100%. OG Jets fan comes in. When Mike Williams comes back, where does that put Lazard? My opinion, hopefully on the inactives each week. I don't
He'll
even
probably
want
be
Lazard.
active, but
I
I mean,
know.
he'll probably.
Well, I'm hoping. I don't think that's where
I
I'll end
mean,
up, but that's my
they
hope.
are now. They are talking about Lazard's participating in special teams.
You
You
have
know,
to if you're wide receiver 4 or 5, right?
yeah. Well, it tells you he's not saying, "Well, I'm an $11 million guy. I'm not playing no special teams." Well, at least he has the mindset of, "I'll do whatever it takes to help the team." So that's good. So he probably would be wide receiver 5, and he would have to be on special teams, and he'd be on the bench and get maybe 5 snaps in the game. But that's decent depth. I mean, if Alan Lazard is your wide receiver 5, that's not the worst thing in the world.
No. No. And he'll probably play more earlier on, maybe to be showcased, but also I'm a big believer that Mike Williams is going to be on the pitch count if he's active for week 1, right? Like Brees was on the pitch count last year. I'm a big believer that Mike Williams, if activated for week 1 and not the 6-week pup, he's going to be used third downs, red zone. Like I don't want Mike Williams out there on first down from our own 30. If you're gonna you want to maximize his availability, right? And how you use him. I'd rather Lazard be out there, maybe block for Brees, and then on a third down you bring in Mike Williams. If you're giving him 30 reps a game, or 30 routes to start, whatever, just throwing a number out there for discussion purposes. But Tommy, thank you for the super chat. And remember, guys, super chats cut the line, get you right up on the screen right away. And we got the great Jake Aspen gifting a membership. Thank you, Jake. I was about to sell the memberships, and you came in at the perfect time, sir. And Jake gave it to the ever positive, beloved chat member of Modine. So, Jake, you would have been better off burning that $5 and just tossing it out. But thank you, Jake, as always. Wildwave comes in with his 3-month super chat saying, I think Woody loves JD. JD and Rodgers are close, so he's most likely safe. Saleh, on the other hand, has to earn his keep because I think they soured on him. I disagree with that, Wildwave. I think anybody who logically and without the Jet fan panic looks at this and says, the fact that they won 7 games each of the last 2 seasons with the worst quarterback play and the worst offensive line and the most amount of offensive linemen used in football, holy shit, what can this guy do with an adequate, effective, and efficient offense? I don't think they've soured on Saleh. The players haven't. And, I can't agree with that, Wildwave. You and me are usually in sync on a lot of takes. But I disagree with that they soured on him. The players are still willing to run through a wall for him. They're willing to do anything for him. No one says a bad word about him. You can tell when people get asked questions when they're down on something, right? We saw the Adam Gase years. We've seen other coaches come through here. We could see when coaches started to lose the locker room. I don't see that at all. So, Frankie, what do you think?
Well, I agree. It goes back to this point I made where in the modern day of football, the most correlated thing with winning is passing game efficiency. And the way to have passing game efficiency is to have good quarterback play and offensive line play. And we didn't have those, and we still won 7 games. Like, you have that's a miracle. The way I see it, Saleh did a great job, but the record is what it is, and people are going to just point to the record and say the record. And the record is what it is. But I do think, given our situation, to win 7 games where you don't have an offensive line and you don't have a quarterback is kind of a miracle.
Yeah,
if you think about it.
And here we go. Excuse me. Breaking news. Jake's gonna unban Modine. All right, where's my gamblers at? We gotta set an over/under before Modine is banned again. Does he make opening day on Jake's channel? Yes or no? Does he make it?
Here's the thing about Modine, and I remember you, Modine. So I got a good memory. And Modine, here's what you got to keep in mind with Modine. He is a Patriot fan. That's what he is. So of course he's in here trying to rile us up. That's what
really?
Patriot fans do.
Is he really a Patriot fan?
Yeah. Once you understand that about old Modine, everything changes, doesn't it? You just got to change your perspective on Modine.
Oh, wow. Wow. Wow, you just threw a curveball at me. I did not see that coming.
Oh yeah. I remember. Old Frankie got a good memory.
Oh, Knob comes in. I got $10. It says Modine survives, so at least week 6. All right. Roger, I see you, buddy. I said hello to you earlier. It's hard to say hello to everyone here when I got Frankie on. I've never talked to Frankie. I'm more into the conversation. That's why the super chats and the other comments will cut the line and then get up immediately.
Button, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and send in the super chats. Nick's doing a great job, and my technology is not the best, so let's appreciate Nick.
I appreciate
Send in some super chats.
Shout out to Boba Jet, who was at the practice yesterday.
And what does that mean?
Oh, he gifted memberships. You don't see it, but if you're in YouTube, there's a picture of him with the helmet on as an emoji on the channel. So you see it as, you and I see it as this, but if you're in the YouTube chat, he posted his picture like 20 times with the emoji. So there's a bunch of emojis we've created on the channel with some of the characters and individuals. And my buddy, I saw a video that Boba shared from somebody from the end zone bleachers of you leading the Jet chant. And then my buddy sent a picture today. He was on the aisle with you in the front doing it and set the picture. I'm like, oh, that's my friend Boba. But, speaking of devil. And bringing in good news. Nick, what's up, brother? Swept the Phillies. Let's go, Jets. I love it. Encompass everything right there in one sentence. I'm good. Yankees got to keep it rolling. You got to keep it rolling. I'm a little nervous about this roster and the pitching. But whenever you can be a disaster of a franchise, still be tied for your division. And I think only one team in baseball has more wins than you. That's all right. Things aren't that bad. Frank, you a baseball fan? Do you have a team? Like, I know you mentioned the Yankees before. Are you a Yankee fan just off the...
I used to follow it. So I played baseball up to college. SUNY New Paltz, for anybody who's into the SUNYAC system. I know we have some Binghamton people, some Cortland people. But that was back in the day. So I used to be a Yankee fan, and I was a big baseball fan. I know a lot about baseball. But then I got bored with baseball. But baseball became all about what they call the 3 true outcomes: the walk, the strikeout, the home run. And that's boring. So I stopped following it. I can't stay, as we were talking about earlier, I cannot stand Michael Kay. I think he's the worst play-by-play man on earth. And he just turns me off to the game. And the game itself is boring. So so I don't follow it anymore. I'm totally into football.
All right.
Daniel Murphy has a question about
Yeah, there you
UCF.
go. Go ahead. Take that. Thank you, Daniel, for the
So I
super
don't
chat. And
know.
Frankie, over to you.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but I now work for UCF down here in Florida. That's
I
one of the
did see you
reasons I've
mention it when
been.
you were on Green Bean's show when you came back a few weeks ago.
So UCF is now in the Big 12. This is their second year in the Big 12, and they're going to be pretty good. I'm going to be keeping a watch on some of their prospects. KJ Jefferson is their quarterback now. He transferred from Arkansas, so we're going to be doing a lot of uh, play action. But they're
Play action or like RPO?
I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't hear you.
Play action or like RPO? Is he a mobile quarterback?
Yeah, he's a mobile guy, so it's going to be run action plays where they're doing a handoff and you don't know if he's going to pull it back or give it to the running back because he's a runner. He's a very good runner and he has a rocket for an arm. But is he a good quarterback? We don't know. But that'll be interesting. They should have a good season this year, Daniel. They should be about 8-4, 9-3, something like that. They have two really good running backs. KJ Jefferson could develop into a prospect or not. He has all the tools to do so. But whether he develops or not, he's one of those guys. And they have good receivers. So their coach is an offensive coach, Gus Malzahn. And also, we have for any basketball fans, we have a 7'2" dude in UCF who shoots 3-pointers. So
You have to now.
you're gonna hear about that kid in a couple of years. He's 7'2" and he's nailing 3-pointers.
Nice.
So it's gonna be a step up in competition. We have Gus Malzahn, who used to be the coach at Clemson when Cam Newton was there. So he's an offensive guy, and they're going to be stepping it up. It's going to be an exciting season, Daniel.
Nice. Speaking of Daniel, I'm going to kick over to another question here from Daniel Meehan, our resident Dolphin fan, who takes me to task every time I mention the Dolphins, but he's a good dude and a good supporter of the channel. So he's asking, how do you see the AFC East playing out?
Well, I think it's going to be a dogfight. That's what I think. A three-way dogfight between the Bills, the Jets, and the Dolphins. And the Patriots are going to take a while. Patriots are a year away from being a year away, probably. It depends, of course, on Drake May and what goes on there. But the Bills should have a down year relative to what they've been doing. They still have Josh Allen, so you can never count them out. And their wide receiver core took a hit with Diggs leaving. And they have cap problems. This is their medicine year. So they should have a down year, which for them means what, 9-10 wins, Then the Dolphins, to me, it's all about their defense. What is going to go on with that defense? What is it going to look like? They've had, 3 or 4 defensive coordinators now in a row. Every year they've changed them out. They have a lot of injuries. And, so how does Phillips and Chubb come back? When do they come back? How effective are they? What about Chop Robinson? Is he going to be good or not? So they have a lot of talent on defense, of course. They have the cornerback, Ramsey, and they have some good linemen. Linebacking core, I think, probably is a little weak, but I think their offense is going to be now. They're a little concerned with their offensive line so far. So as long as their O line holds up, they should be fine. Their offense is always going to be good. Anytime you have Tyreek, Waddle, Tua, and the boys, you're going to be and HN and Mostert. So how good they are depends on their defense, in my opinion. And then you have the Jets, who have a stacked roster but haven't won anything in 14 years. So I think it's going to be a dogfight, with a three-way dogfight at the top of the AFC East. There's going to be 3 teams with 9, 10, 11 wins like that. And which one winds up with the 11 and 12 is the one that'll wind up winning.
I think that Dolphins schedule from Thanksgiving night on is going to really be difficult for them. They go to Green Bay on Thanksgiving night. They play at us to end the season. They play at Cleveland, at Houston, and then they have San Francisco that comes there, and I think one other game that's tough. but that Thanksgiving on is really, really tough for them. We know how they do
And
in the
that's
cold.
going to be their focus, right? Because they have to prove they can win in the cold and they can win down the stretch. So that McDaniel is stressing that because they know that. They know their reputation is they get off to a hot start and then they can't do anything in the cold down the stretch. So they're going to put an emphasis on that. Whether that makes a difference, we're going to have to see.
Yeah, it's Packers Thanksgiving night. We go there. They go to Houston. San Francisco goes there. They go to Cleveland and to us to end the season. And that Cleveland game is a night game, Sunday night, I believe. And then us could be a night game as well. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they do with those cold weather games to end the season. Because I say to Daniel, and I'm not shit talking, but like the Jets, we haven't made the playoffs in 15 years. Want to change the narrative? Change the narrative. Tua's got to win a game below 45 degrees. You can't have that late season collapse because of the elements. So, unfortunately, that's their stigma. We have ours. Shout out to Knob, the great Knob Deep, for gifting a membership on the channel that went to Knob. This is so fitting that Knob gives it to Huge Johnson. Huge Johnson gets it courtesy of Knob. Knob giving out a Huge Johnson. You can't write this type of material, folks. Only here on the Proud New York Jet Fan Show. The cast of characters are amazing. Now, Huge Johnson's already in the Discord. He was just regifted a membership. If you are a member of the channel and you have that fancy little green writing and that S after your name like Addison does here, Rob, Infrared, and many others, you're probably saying to yourself, what do we do with that? Well, all that information is scrolling on the bar on the bottom. You become a paid member of the channel. You're gifted a membership. Friend me on Discord. We'll get you over into the Discord group. A lot of Jet conversation going all day long. Discord parties where people are hanging out, doing the video chats, and then like the Zoom parties, you want to call them. It happens all hours of the night. 3 siblings, Jay falls asleep there almost nightly, so it's always fun to guess when he's going to fall asleep. Yes, Addison, you get access to the DP. We know how much everyone loves DP, so you get that in the Discord party. So, but let's get into something I know you were interested in talking about. Tight end room's getting crowded, huh? Give us your thoughts on that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens. So this could be something that we look at in the preseason, actually. Most of the preseason is pretty boring, the preseason games. But something that I'm going to be looking at is what are we doing with these hybrid players? So we signed Anthony Ferkser and we got rid of Bawden. We said, Bawden, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. Bawden is more of a traditional fullback. Ferkser is a combo tight end, halfback, fullback, you name it, he does it type guy. We have another guy named Lincoln Sefcich, who nobody's talking about, but Robbie Sabo mentioned him on X, and I thought, oh, that's a good point. We signed this guy, Lincoln Sefcich, a guy out of southern Alabama or someplace, UDFA, and he's a combo guy. So now we got Ferkser, we got Sefcich, and you got a guy like Ruckert. Now, what's going to happen with that group? Are they all going to be combos? Or we all know tight end 1 is Conklin. That's clear, obvious. He's going to be on the field all the time. He's going to get the most snaps by far. He's our tight end 1 and pretty much going to be on the field all the time. You almost always have a tight end on the field, and it's always going to be Conklin. Now, Ruckert, what's going to be interesting to watch, do we use Ruckert in a combo role, or is he just straight up tight end 2? And then if it's 12 personnel, those are the 2, Conklin and Ruckert. And then we have these other guys, either Sefcich or Ferkser, and they're combo dudes, and they're just sort of like, they're our combo guys. Yeah. Or is Ruckert made into a combo role? So that's something I'm going to watch. Do we put Ruckert in the backfield ever? And, you might want to see that alignment in the preseason because that could tell you, okay, that's how we're going to use him. Or does Ruckert just stay at the end of the line or split out, and then we're just going to use him in a traditional tight end role? And then these other 2 guys, Well, we got to see what they do. Do we put them in the backfield? What's going on with them? So to me, that's the interesting thing. And where does Kenny Yeboah fit into all of this? I mean, if we cut Kenny Yeboah, Green Bean we might have to send in a wellness check on Green Bean because he's going to lose it.
Yeah, he definitely will. Real quick, shout out to OG Jet Fan for gifting a membership. Thank you, sir. Went to Shane McGarry. And for everyone who's gifted a membership, forgive me for not playing. We're going to drop it here. Frankie, you got to look over the top at the jet going by. There you go. Thank you for playing along, sir. And thank you to Tommy. Let me ask you, flat out, do you think that this spells trouble for Yeboah?
I don't know. I want to see. I mean, why would we sign Ferkser? I want to see what happens. Ferkser, Sefcik. I mean, so Sefcik is a guy nobody's talking about, and so nobody probably thinks he's going to make the team. But Robbie Sabo started talking about him, so that makes me think there's something to him. I mean, I'd never heard of him until Robbie started talking about him. I was like, who the hell is this guy? So if Robbie's saying that he's doing something in the practices, then he's doing something. And it may be more than Yeboah. Now, Yeboah is a guy who I don't think can play fullback, for example. So now Yeboah plays special teams, but so can Sefcik and so can Ferkser. So I think those guys are battling it out. That's why I say watch the preseason. So that's something to really watch in the preseason because you got to see who's getting a look and what are they getting a look at. If Yeboah just what if they put Yeboah in the backfield? Then you say, okay, they're making him a combo guy too, which maybe he can do it. Or maybe Sefcik's ahead of Ferkser. Maybe Ferkser's ahead of Sefcik. We don't know. But these are the kind of things at the end of these are like the bottom of the roster things that I like to look at.
Because we don't have many battles, right? There's been years where we've listed a dozen guys who could make the roster, and then we're upset with the juggling the roster around that guys that we thought would make it didn't. There's not many openings on this roster. So like something like this, which is little, right? It doesn't seem like it's a major move, but it's like an eyebrow raiser. Like, all right, what are they seeing? Where's the issue? Who does this affect? So we've had years where 15 guys get cut we thought could have made the team. This year, there's not going to be many surprises. That's why having one pop up, like having a move like this get thrown out into the fold is definitely worth keeping an eye on. If you had a guess right now, based off of your knowledge and your opinions, how do you see the tight end room shaking out?
Well, I would think the odds are Sefcik goes to the P squad. So I don't think he's going to have any trouble getting there. So that's one thing. I mean, Ferkser is an interesting guy. We didn't have him before, and he does have experience in the league. He has played on different teams, and he's been in games, and he does have some production. He's done some things. So I think Ferkser is a curveball. We didn't anticipate him being on this roster. Now we have him, so we got to see what their plan for him is. I mean, they went out and signed him for some reason. They thought he was better than Bodden, I guess, for something. So certainly, we know 1 and 2 are Conklin and Ruckert. And then I think 3, 4. I mean, how many do we keep? Do we keep 3? Do we keep 4? 4 is probably the max.
You haven't even mentioned Zach Kuntz yet.
Kuntz is definitely not making it. He's P squad, I would say. He's a developmental guy. Yeah, but probably is a battle between Ferkser and Yeboah.
Okay.
Maybe they keep 4.
There's any way they keep 4?
They could, but then you got to. I mean, they're going to want to keep extra O linemen because of what happened last year. They're going to want to keep extra D linemen because Saleh loves defensive linemen more than he loves his own children. So
he wants to have the same amount of children as he has defensive linemen. So it's a close race right now. He's still young. He's got time.
Exactly. He's trying to get his own defensive line at home. is what he wants. But so they're going to want they're going to want to keep some of those guys. So you figure maybe 3 tight ends, which case it's probably Yeboah, but I don't know. Ferkser, I mean, we signed Ferkser for a reason, and he does have experience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why I say keep your eye on preseason. Let's see what that'll tell you what their intentions are to some degree.
Okay. No, I haven't seen it. Did you see numbers on Ferkser? That's a.
He has some production.
I hope
like,
he gets cut just because I can't say his fucking name, Frank.
I said his nickname should be Ferkser the Berserkster. That would be good.
Yeah,
But-
you want me to say that?
He has numbers like 20 catches, 200 yards, some production. He's gotten into games. I mean, he's an end of the. He's not a star.
Yeah.
He's a.
No, I meant contract numbers. Did you see anything with that? Is it just a minimum? Is it a 1-year minimum?
sure
Is
it's
there
a
anything?
I'm sure it's a minimum deal.
Okay.
I don't think and probably no guaranteed money.
Okay.
I would guess.
All right. I saw a chat question. Let me find it. I think it was Daniel Murphy. Here you go. Question from Daniel. Thoughts on Cohen or maybe another guy making roster as just a return specialist? Do you think they can do just a specialist with all the other, like you said, depth at D-line, depth offensive line, possibly 6 wide receivers with Irv Charles being the special team guy? If you go a 4th tight end, you're basically keeping a 4th for special teams. Do you think that they have enough room on the roster to have just a return guy?
Well, if Cohen makes it, he's also a backup running back. So, then if Izzy gets cut, then Cohen becomes your running back 4. And also, does he play on coverage teams? Like, is Tariq Cohen good enough to tackle people and or block on coverage and return teams? That's a question. I don't know. That's something else you could look at during the preseason. Is Cohen lining up, on coverage teams or things where he's not making a return? And if he can do that, plus be the running back 4, now you got a guy who's doing 3 or 4 jobs, and now maybe it's worth a roster spot.
All right. I like it. Do you think, while we're on the running back discussion, you think Izzy makes this team, or you think it's just a matter of time?
He's got an uphill battle. I mean, the 3 running backs ahead of him are set. I mean,
Yeah.
Brees is making it, Braylon's making it, and Isaiah's making it. They're probably going to keep 4, so he's got to beat out Cohen. Even Valladay has been getting some good. People have been writing. Even Zavarian Valladay looks pretty good, and I haven't seen anybody write anything about Izzy. So I think he's got an uphill battle, but he's a 5th round running back, and those guys get cut all the time. I mean, it's just the way it is. So we might try to sneak him onto the P squad. Somebody might pick him up, or I doubt he has any trade value, but.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
these are the kind of things that you want on your roster, though, where you're down to your 3rd and 4th spot of depth, and you got multiple guys battling it out, and whoever wins.
Yeah.
I don't know. Puts
this is a good thing.
I don't care if he's the best. He's the best.
Yeah, and this is a good thing because we're not arguing about starters. There's no discussions about starters, right? Like, our biggest thing is, how are we going to use Mike Williams as he comes back from an injury? We know the starting offensive line. We know the starting quarterback. We know the starting running back. We know the tight end rotation at the top end of it, at least. We know the defense is set. We know our kicker and our punter. There's no roster battles anywhere for the starting positions. It's all back end. It's who's going to be the 4th safety, who's going to be the 6th cornerback. Are we keeping 5 linebackers? We know who everyone is. We know the main players. That's what's great about the roster that we have right now. So these little things that we're going to make stories out of, that we're going to discuss on content shows, right? It's because the roster is structured very, very well. And it's not something that we're used to. We're used to position battles at camp. We're used to who's the number 1 wide receiver, who's going to be the left guard, who's going to be the 2nd cornerback. We're so used to hoping guys fill roles as starters instead of who's going to be the depth on the back end of the roster. So it's a good day for Jets fans.
Yeah, and let me remind folks about. Remember, we had a guy named Bam Bam or something. Bam
Bam Knight.
Knight. Yeah. Well, he's like the sixth string running back on the Lions now. He's barely going to make their team, and people were upset that we lost him. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you lose a guy like that, you just lose him. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't keep everybody, and if somebody gets beat out in camp, they get beat out in camp. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Shout out to the big fella, great supporter of the channel. He asks, out of all the surprise cuts that could possibly happen, which one do you see as having the highest of potential of happening?
The surprise cuts. What? What? What surprise cuts? I mean, I don't see any big surprises that a guy you think is going to make the team that's not going to make the team. I mean, we're talking about well, probably Izzy would be the biggest one, right? Because people had a lot of high hopes for him. He's from Brooklyn. We all love him because he's from Brooklyn. He went to Pitt, where I was before this. I was up there in Pittsburgh, so I was rooting for him, hoping he would make it. And now there's a lot of competition for him to make the team. So other than that, people who we think are going to make the team that aren't going to make the team, I don't know. What about instead of looking at it that way, big fella? What about surprise guys who could make the team? How about the kid we signed out of the UFL? What about that? Uh, what's his name? He's from Hawaii. We signed a guard center. He could be the guy who they're counting on to be the third string guard center. And I forget his name. He's from
Right.
Hawaii, and he made the all-star team of the UFL.
I forget his
What about
name.
that guy?
I know Martinez, the quarterback we just signed from UFL, right?
We got Martinez, but we also got a lineman
I
from the
forget
UFL.
lineman's name. Anybody in the chat?
Yeah,
You get a cookie?
yeah. In the chat, hit me up with the dude. He went to Hawaii, and then he bounced around and he wound up in the UFL. He made the All-Star team, the All-League team.
Fucking Modine. He goes, his name is Wendy's hamburger server. That's fucking funny.
Hey, man, we're talking about third stringers. Maybe these linemen. It's interesting because sometimes these linemen, Cole something, Cole Fulano or something, Fulano, but these linemen sometimes take 2-3 years to develop. What if the development happens in the other leagues, the XFL, UFL leagues? What if they develop over there and then we grab them? That's not bad for a third stringer. We're talking about third stringer. It's not going to start.
Cole F, the big fella coming in. Cole F.
It's like Cole Leanu or something. He's Hawaiian. He has like a Hawaiian. Actually, he's from Samoa. He has a Samoan name.
Oh, Sluggo coming in with Cole Trickle. Can you name that movie?
No, it's definitely no. I cannot name that movie.
I believe that's Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise when he's the race car driver.
Yeah, Daniel Murphy has it. Cole Laval.
Italian stallion.
Yeah, he's a guard.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So he's a guard/center. Maybe he's the third string guard/center. He's also played tackle in his career, so he's actually played all 5 spots. But what about that guy? That guy can make it. Let's follow his story.
MO, right? Positional flexibility fits the Douglas MO.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Because if we sign a UFL dude who makes the team, I think that's incredible.
Hey, I'm always rooting for the next guy. Like I root for anyone who wears this, right? I don't buy jerseys. I don't wear jerseys. I root for the name. I root for the team. Like I don't care who gets reps. I don't care who gets sacks. I don't care who scores touchdowns because I want the team to just do the best it possibly can. I don't care. I don't have anything invested in any player making or not making the roster. I want the best 53 or dress 48, whatever it is now, week after week. I don't care if there's somebody that I've liked and they say, all right, time to go. We're bringing someone else in who we think you can do your job better. I wish you well. You didn't embarrass the team. You didn't embarrass yourself. Good luck to you, man. God bless. But I'm all about the team being the best possible team that we can be. Let's see. We got. Oh, let's talk about this before the questions start building back up. We escaped the big injury today. Escaped the big injury scare at camp today. Michael Carter, the news came out. He limped off the field, went to the back, and then after practice at the press conference, coach says nothing serious, nothing major. We're going to monitor it, and maybe he'll be sore for a couple weeks. So 40 days until opening day. I think we're in a good spot. I think he'll be okay. You know, you didn't hear the word high ankle sprain yet come out. That's usually the thing that lingers 6 to 8, maybe 10 weeks. But we haven't heard that kiss of death put on it yet. So, you know, this is the main thing we got to do. Carl Lawson, 2 years ago with that joint practice, we're always worried about something happening. And, you know, this would have been a big scare because nobody can do what Michael Carter does, right? When you look at the defense, Quinnen Williams and Michael Carter might be the only two guys that can do something that nobody else can step up and do, right? If Mosley's brain is third. Like, you know, he's in that conversation with him aligning everybody.
I think people don't understand how important a piece of the defense Michael Carter is. You know, last year we were 80% 4-2-5, 80% nickel. Now, that doesn't mean Michael Carter was in there 80% of the time because we went big nickel sometimes with Ashton Davis and Adrian Amos before we cut him. But, yeah, and sorry about the echo. People are saying, is there an echo? I think it's on my part, so I apologize. And I'll have to figure out what's going on. I have a new laptop, new mic. I don't know what's happening. But Michael Carter's a big part of what we do. And so he would be that would be a major injury if he were to go out for any period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who would even be the backup nickel right now?
Nichols would be the backup nickel. And then Ashton Davis would play a lot because we would just play three safeties.
Yeah. You know, I thought he had a big role in the Kansas City game last year. They do a lot of two tight ends, and Ashton was up near the line a lot. But
that's what he does. If you're watching at home and you see Jamie Sherwood in the game, that Carter will be out of the game and Sherwood will be in the game. That means that Albrecht thinks they're going to run. Albrecht thinks they're going to run if Sherwood's in the game. If Michael Carter's in the game, Albrecht thinks they're going to pass. If he's unsure or he thinks it's an even split on whether they could go one way or the other, then Ashton Davis will be in. So it's a little key as to what Albrecht's thinking when you see those players in the game.
All right. I like it. Nice little tip. All right. Let's get back to Rodgers. Absolutely on fire today in the red zone. He threw 3 touchdowns to Garrett Wilson. He threw 6 touchdowns out of 12 against our number 1 defense, right? 3 to Garrett Wilson, 1 to Corley, I believe 2 to Brees. You know, 1 was from 20 yards out to Brees. So he was quoted as saying later in the day, it's not very common that your running back is your number 1 in the progression when you get down, you know, near the red zone. So we have an elite weapon in Brees Hall, who Rodgers is even sounds a little surprised and pleasantly surprised with, right? With what his talents are and what he can do. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, my thoughts is that the first couple of games had to be practices were probably rusty. You know, people don't talk about that, but Rodgers missed the whole year last year. We all cry in our beer about it, but then think about it from a practical point of view. He hadn't played in 12 months or so, you know, or a long time. So, you know, those first few practices when the beat writers were telling us, oh, the offense looks off today. Rodgers is a little bit off. He's frustrated. This, that, and the other thing. Well, what about rusty? Like, can the guy be rusty a little bit? Like, he's going to have a little bit of rust. And so maybe the rust is gone now. Maybe it was 2 days of rust. And now it's all chip on the shoulder. I am going to destroy you because you all doubted me. And I'm going to show you who I am. I'm going to show you who I am. And we are going to show you who we are. That's how it's going to be.
Love it. Love it. Big fella coming in. Thank you for the super chat, sir. you see JBC making the team, and where does he fit? What's your thoughts on that, Frank?
Back to corner. So that means he couldn't cut it at safety. I don't see where he fits. We have 5 corners. Stiggers is making the team. So that's our 5th corner. We're keeping 6 corners. We usually carry 5, I think. So I would say no. He probably is P squad development guy,
Okay.
unless there's injuries. But I can't see him making it because he's not playing safety anymore. And Stiggers is our 5th corner. If we keep 6 corners, then I guess he would be 6, unless, well, Isaiah Oliver's probably going to be safety 4, I guess. But I mean, he's right at the edge of the roster. Like, this guy, he's done nothing since he's been here. He was injured. He didn't make it at safety. They're moving him to corner. I would think they probably have him as a developmental type who they probably want on the P squad for development, and maybe next year when Reed's gone, he can be a depth guy on the 53 men. That would be my guess. But again, it's hard to know also when we haven't seen anything. Like, we have to just go off of what the beat writers tell us is going on the practice field, because we don't see it. I don't know what's going on in the practice field unless what the video comes out from fans or the beat writers. So it's hard to know what JBC is doing. I don't know. Can we study the film on JBC from the practices? So it's hard to know, but it seems like maybe he's more of a project guy that they hope to stash on the P squad, and maybe he's a next year type of guy.
All right. Well, thank you again for the super chat, and thank you everyone for the super chats and gifting memberships tonight. Going back to what you were saying, I want my quarterback, who's one of the best ever, pissed off, motivated, in that fuck you mode. We want that. It's the guy gets shit on.
That's what he's going to be.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. He's always been at his best.
He's going to be wanting to show everybody. He wants to show everybody, the media, the other teams, everybody who counted him out. He wants to show himself that he can still do it. I think he's going to be super motivated. Knob Deep is asking about Clemens. Clemens has to make it, Knob Deep. That's a place we don't have super depth. Clemens kind of has to make it. And hopefully he's going to play good. But Clemens, makes the team for sure.
Yeah, it looks like if he's out there with the starting D line, he might be that JFM, run stuffing DN or on early downs, and on 3rd and shorts and things like that. Which, all right, I'm not a big fan of him rushing the passer, but I think he just tries to bull rush everything. All the videos coming out about him this offseason, it looks like he's trying to get quicker and lighter. So maybe he develops a little more of a pass rush repertoire. But I'm not overly excited about Clemens, the pass rusher.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay. He's probably one of these guys who's just okay. And you need guys like that, though. I mean, it doesn't cost us any money. He's a 4th round pick. And, he's just a guy who's okay, and he's on the line. He's not terrible, but he's not great either. You need guys like that.
Yeah.
Logo says
sometimes you draft guys.
We need a nasty O lineman. We need that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to the O line. We'll definitely touch on that. You need guys that you bring in. Maybe they don't ever get to the second contract, but they're serviceable players. They're rotational pieces on the D line. And then after 4 years, you kind of go, all right, maybe we can just draft somebody else to do that role. And that's the pipeline, right? Like, we're going to draft another guy. We don't have to extend every single player that we've ever drafted, but we can now draft someone else to fill that role for the next 4 years and have another cheap contract as off a defensive lineman 7, right?
Yeah, and I think people should wrap their heads around 2025 is going to be a year we pick a lot of defensive players in the draft. It's a very deep. Our understanding is that there's a lot of really great defensive players. So probably our 1st round pick is going to be a D tackle. Our 2nd round pick is probably going to be an edge. Our 3rd round pick is probably going to be a safety. There's going to be a lot of defense we pick. So that way we can let Javon Kinlaw go. We can let Michael Clemens go. We can let these guys go and replace them with, cheaper talent.
Yeah, I'm gonna try something here. Now I'm talking. I muted you, Frankie. I just want to talk a little bit to see if this helps. Do you guys still hear the echo now when I'm speaking? Because if I have to, I'll just randomly. Whoa! Hold up. Addison coming in, my man from the West Coast Avengers, comes in and drops 5 channel memberships going to Mark Reese, the 411 on New York Sports. Great show. Check that out Friday nights at 6 o'clock with VR, Johnny, and producer Infrared. Ron P., Big Will, and Sean Bennett. Addison, you are the man. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate you. Awesome. I'm not sure if you're aware of all my health issues, Frankie, but I have several. I don't want to take up your whole night. One of them is being diabetic, so that means it's time for a pee break for me. Show's all yours, brother. I'll be back in a minute.
But yeah, I mean, I think we do need to start thinking about, well, we don't need to start thinking about it, but just keep in the back of our minds that when we start losing the players, after this year, we're going to start seeing some guys leave. And those guys are going to have to be replaced in the draft. And this draft apparently is very strong on defensive tackle, very strong on a deep edge, very strong on safety. So we're probably going to pick up a bunch of those guys, I would say, in the draft. Not that we should be thinking about the draft too much, but some people are already talking about the draft, and so something to keep in mind. But yeah, otherwise, I think Rodgers. I mean, if his health holds up, it could be one of those seasons where, I mean, Rodgers is in contention for MVP. That would be pretty amazing. Boba Jet says, "What do you think about the Reddick situation?" Yeah, I mean, he can't sit out. It has to get resolved by the end of the preseason, Boba. Right? What is he going to do? Sit out? He cannot sit out. He can't pull a Le'Veon Bell. No way. That didn't work out for Le'Veon Bell. It didn't work out for us. It didn't work out for anyone. And so I don't really even understand why he's burning all of this money that he's burning right now. I mean, he's just taking sacks of cash and lighting them on fire. I don't understand this. I mean, the guy has to come in and he has to play. And so
Who's that?
I don't Hassan Reddick. I mean, I don't
Okay.
understand what he's doing. Come in. Joe Douglas will give you some sweeteners. He'll give you some reasonable sweeteners and just play out your damn contract and go get paid next year. That's the problem here.
Yeah, it's I'm trying not to be too concerned about it. My line in the sand has been Monday, August 19th. It's 3 weeks to the opener. If he's not here by the 19th, that's when I start to get a little concerned. But I will say this. I will gladly give up Hassan Reddick for the opener if the 49ers give up Trent Williams. I think that's a fair trade, right? Like, you'd sign up for that, right? Hey, we don't have Reddick. You don't have Trent Williams. Let's go play football.
We would definitely take that. Trent Williams, for those who don't know, is one of the best left tackles in all of professional football. I was actually thinking, what if this was a thought experiment? Not that I'm advocating for this, but as a thought experiment, what if we said, you know what, Mr. Hassan Reddick, we're done with you. We're cutting you. And instead, we're going to sign Yannick Ngakoue. What about that?
I mean, that it would look horrific. People would go ballistic. But if it gets to a point where it doesn't look like you can come to terms,
At some point,
Jets fans would lose their goddamn minds. The Joe Douglas haters would go nuts, right?
I mean, but it looks bad for Reddick because Reddick promised he would come in. I mean, he told Joe Douglas, "Yeah, I'll be there, no problem. I'm not going to sit out, I promise." And then he said, "No, sorry, I'm sitting out." I mean, what is Joe Douglas supposed to do? Call him a liar to his face? Like, he told him he would be there. So to me, Reddick looks terrible. Now, Reddick's agents are Tory Dandy and Jimmy Sexton of CAA. Those are experienced agents. They're not dummies. So it's not like he's getting bad advice from his agents, or at least he shouldn't, because those guys know what they're doing. They represent many, many players. And so when you look at the agents, it's like, what exactly are they thinking? Do they really think they're going to push Joe Douglas around to where he gives them 30 million a year? Joe Douglas ain't giving you that. He's not. He gives you fair deals. Like, people need to understand about Joe Douglas. That's how he does business. He'll give you something fair. He's not going to get pushed around like McCagnon. So I don't know what is going to go on, but at some point you have to look at the alternatives. I mean, Ngakwe's still out there. Carl Lawson's still out there. And at
How
some
about
point, you gotta
Emmanuel
say, you
Ogba?
know,
Did he sign anywhere?
he got a look from the Cowboys. I think he's doing a workout with the Cowboys. They're looking at somebody because Sam Williams tore his ACL. So they need a new pass rusher. So they're looking at Lawson and some other guys. So, I mean, at some point you do have to say, listen, you told us you were going to be here, that you lied. You went back on what you said. We don't need you. Let's bring in somebody else. Your money's not guaranteed. You don't. We could probably save money on the cap. We could probably bring in Ngakwe and McGovern, and let's bring in that safety from Denver too, Justin Simmons. Let's bring him in. Let's bring in everybody and say to hell with Reddick. We don't need you here.
All right. I mean, it's worth keeping an eye on, right? If the longer it takes, I think the more options are on the table. But right now, I think the plan is to get them there. But I do like the thought exercise. I'm not sure.
I'm not saying get rid of Reddick.
Okay. That's why I added that at the end, because, sometimes there's selective hearing out there, and it'll come. Frankie wants to trade or cut Reddick. Like, that'll be the headline all over Twitter tomorrow. Eddie, so I know earlier there was a question about the AFC East. Where do you see us falling in the AFC? Like, are you looking big picture yet, or are you just focused on get through the division first and see where we land there, or are you willing to give your thoughts?
I mean, talent-wise, we stack up against anyone and everyone. I mean, there's no reason why we can't be at least playing the AFC Championship game, talent-wise, on paper. Now, this is where we are. We're on the paper part of the season. We haven't played anybody yet except ourselves. On paper, we should be able to get all the way to the AFC Championship game. But as we all know, the playoffs are tricky. I mean, we haven't been to the playoffs in 14 years. What do we know about playoffs?
Yeah.
But why I hear they're pretty tricky, and they have good teams in there. So that anybody can, I mean, if we come up against the Bengals, Joe Burrow can beat you. We come up against Pat Mahomes, he can beat you. You come up against Josh Allen, he can beat you. I mean, come up against Tua. Well, Tua's good in the beginning of the season, but maybe he could beat you at some point in the playoffs.
Are the playoffs played in October? Did they change the calendar around? Sorry, Daniel.
That's got to. That's got to.
I already hear Daniel Meehan typing angrily at me. Damn you, Nick! You did it again.
But I mean, it is what it is until it isn't. I mean, it was the same thing with Peyton Manning, though. So if I was Daniel Meehan or any Dolphin fan, I would look and say, well, they said the same thing about Peyton Manning until he did it, and then eventually he did it. And they
want the narrative change? Change the narrative.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here.
But yeah, we could go. I mean, we can. There's no reason with the talent we have on paper. And then again, it's going to depend on injuries, who gets injured. In NFL football, a lot is dependent upon the injuries you have. You're going to have injuries, but how many of your blue chip players get injured? It's really what it comes down to. And if you get a lot of, does it affect your O-line and your quarterback? You need your O-line and your quarterback. We've had terrible luck with injuries hitting the worst part of the most important part of the team. So all those things play a role, but we have enough talent to go as far as we can possibly go.
We do. One of the things we do on here, I know I got yelled at last night. I missed it, so it's usually a little prolonged goodbye here. I'm not known for my quick goodbyes, so what we will start doing is we will start recapping and what did we learn today? Chat, hit us with your what did we learn. And apologies last night for it. There was several trolls. I put the link in for people to call in last night, Frankie, and I get flustered very easily. And these two trolls were just trying to keep popping in, and I got frustrated. So before I mouthed off and made an ass of myself, I ended the stream abruptly, and people were upset that we missed what did we learn. So you ever listen to Opie and Anthony when you were up here? When at the end of the show they would do callers with what did we learn, and people would call in and recap the show.
Well, people are talking about my beard, so I think that's a good thing.
There you go.
It actually wasn't taped on, Rob. It was a real beard, very real beard, but it aged me, I think. I look younger without it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Jay. No call-ins tonight. Wow, Bobo learned that if you put glue on a bee, it dies. My first thing is, do you have video? Because you could send that to me on IG right now, please. We learned Frankie is very handsome without the beard. Look at the love coming in for Frankie. While I'm looking over the what did we learn, perfect time. You have anything you want to plug? You want to push? You got anything going on?
Yeah, well, for those who don't know, my channel is back. We're doing Coffee with Frankie again Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. I'm going to have some special guests, one probably being Green Bean. Nick, if you want to be a special guest, you can be, at some point.
Awesome.
What I'm going to do going forward is we review the news at 10 a.m. and then maybe if we have a special guest, we'll do an interview of that special guest at 11 on Sundays. So that's the plan. But yeah, the Frankie from Flatbush channel is back. I'm not going to be doing a ton of content because I do have 4 more classes for my MBA that's starting tomorrow. So I got to finish those.
Good luck, Good luck.
So that's why I have all these pieces of paper. In case anybody's wondering about all these pieces of paper, these are little study aids that I use to help me study, to help the information get into this brain of mine. So it won't be a ton of content, but Coffee with Frankie on Sundays. And if we have good content from that, we'll clip it up and put clips on the channel.
Nice. Awesome. I would be honored. I would be honored to be on. But I do have to say, whenever we mention Green Bean on this channel, that's my buddy. He busts my balls on his channel when I'm not on there to defend myself. So I do the same thing in return here. That's my boy. I saw your face there for a minute. You didn't know how to react. You're like, uh-oh, is this serious? Wildwave learned that Mo Dean will always be a bozo. Rob learned that Frankie from Flatbush is still goated. Yes, Sean, Frankie is back. Oh, Wildwave coming in. I learned that this is my favorite duo. Look at that. Look at us with our first time together getting high praise. Thank you, sir. Tom learned that Nick will let nothing get between him and a good pee. This is why we do it, because it's you never know what people retain in a 2-hour show. Modine learned that Jake is a generous gifter. There you go. And I'm glad that through this channel, we found out that Mo will be unblocked on Jake's channel. So look at that. Look at good things happening here as soon as football comes back. Tom thought that those were JFK assassination conspiracy charts.
Nope. It's about bond rates and stuff like that. Really exciting. Balance sheets.
Nice. Here we go. Tommy, I learned Nick looks sharp with the trim beard, and the Jets are going to kick any team that comes in front of us. From last night, we're going to kick their fucking teeth down their throat. Can't wait. Can't wait, brother. Cannot wait. Knob learned that I'm happy to have actual football shit to talk about now. Yes, Knob, during the offseason, Frank, there's a lot of call-in shows. A lot of like hangout shows, and it would go off the rails. Many different conversations, and Knob was not a fan of those. Knob wanted strictly football talk, so I'm happy that Knob is happy.
It's interesting. Like Jake Asman, our friend Jake, has those shows all the time with folks coming on, and it's like he has his crew. I notice it's always the same people.
Yeah.
He has a designated crew of people who call in.
Yeah, it's a lot of dedicated viewers, and it's almost like, and this is, Jake said it too. It's almost like a Howard Stern, like a Whack Pack vibe. Like there's the characters that call the show and have their role within the show. The videos get made about them, the merchandise now, with Bobby, and many others. So it's fun. Jake will start off the show with all his Jets talk. He'll open it up to the callers, and I think it's a good environment. I try to do call-in shows. Last night I just did a random hangout with some call-ins, and then now tonight, with you coming on, I wanted to give you as much airtime as possible, so no call-ins tonight, but I'm not against them. But as the season gets here, it's going to be more shows driven like this. So I know we covered a lot. You got anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to discuss, or anything you want to say in closing?
I guess let's just get used to being a good team. We should at least be good, if not great. We should at least have a quality team. Let's understand the problems that come with being a good team instead of the problems that come with being terrible or horrible or so forth and so on. So little things like holding people accountable, those are the kind of things that good teams have to worry about. And that's what we get to look forward to, the problems of being a good team.
Nice. Kim, I'm looking to do a ladies' night with the ladies of Jet Chat, Proud New York Jet Fan Channel. I'm hoping to do it next Wednesday. I'm going to message you on Twitter. Let me know if you're interested or available to come on the channel. I've talked to Leanie.
How many of those do you have? 3? 2?
I'm at 4.6% of my viewers. Jake always talks about it. 4.6%. Hey, screw you. It's a higher percentage than Jake has, because he was talking. I think he was at 3.7, and I sent him the picture, screenshot it. I circled the 4.6, and I said, "Suck it," and I just texted it to him.
I'm just surprised that you know the exact number down to the decimal point.
Well, it's in the analytics, the YouTube analytics. It breaks down your viewers by gender, age, country. It tells me how many people stream to their television to watch it. The analytics are very, very in depth.
I had my old channel that had like 2,000 subscribers. I think my female was like 1% or less than 1%. It must have been the beard. I think the beard was scaring him away. That's what was happening.
It's not
little did I
here,
know.
Bro. Not the case here. Why we had a very good hour and 47 minutes together, and now you start shitting on beards at the end? What the hell is this?
I'm just saying my beard. Like maybe mine was not, not done properly. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have the good stuff to put in it, to make it look nice and fluffy. I don't
know. Tom, I do not want to know anything about you, your life, nothing. I appreciate that you do show up, but I am good with knowing the bare minimum about you. So thank you, everybody. Frankie, thank you. It was an absolute honor having you on. Like I said, this is one of those bucket list things and bucket list guests that I've always kind of like looked at and said, when I was doing shows for 5 people on a Friday night, and one of them was my cell phone being open to YouTube and my son on the couch watching it, was one of the other ones. I always hope to have like guests on. I've had Matt, Green Bean, Jake, and a lot of others, and you're always one of the guys I was like, man, one day I'd love to get Frankie on. That would be cool. So today, not to gush too much, but today was pretty cool for me as a Jet fan, hanging out and talking with you, man. I really appreciate it.
A great time. Thanks to you, Nick, and thanks to everybody in the chat. Enjoyed seeing everybody. And it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. In closing, I will see you guys tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Not sure what we have going on yet, but stay tuned. Check out YouTube during the day, and I'll give you a preview of the show. But as always, be loud, be proud. New York Jets